looking at this article is a DAO. So CoinMarketCap's definitive guide. So you want to learn about what a DAO is. Article was done by Ivan on blockchain CoinMarketCap Alexandria. If you buy keys here, you want to click on the subscribe button so you get notified whenever we drop awesome uploads or beneficial uploads, guys. So heading back to this article, it says these are some of the table of contents we'll be looking at, but we'll try as much as possible to pick out some of the basics on this article. So right here it says a DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization, one of the most forward-looking revolutions of Web3 technology that allows for the creation of digital communities. So since everything is decentralized, there is no need for the presence of a centralized intermediary that regulates how this organization functions. In fact, all the functions of the organizations are written into and enforced by code. So now there are two critical features of a DAO that help distinguish it from centralized organizations. So the first is the lowered barrier of entry for users, and second is the fact that all data about the DAO is available publicly on the blockchain. So most DAOs also have some sort of tokenomics that facilitates crucial decision making. If you are a part of a DAO, then you can easily vote on key decisions. The true potential of a DAO. So to what extent are these kinds of organizations useful? So we're going to be looking at this in this article. So what on earth is a DAO? So you want to think about a DAO as a digital organization that exists on a blockchain. So there is usually no restrictions as to who can join the DAO as long as they have something that they plan to contribute. So to become a member of a DAO, however, you must purchase the governance tokens of that DAO. So subject to the proportion of the governance and tokens, the DAO token holders can vote on key decisions that the DAO takes. Now just take as any other human organization where almost anyone in the world can join. DAOs are often made up of people from myriad backgrounds. A DAO does not require users to provide any KYC related information, which essentially means the DAO members can remain anonymous and still continue to contribute to the organization. Now, the purpose of the DAO can be anything: a self-hosting community of developers who share tips and tricks amongst each other and further training upcoming developers, a decentralized venture fund which collective funds emerging protocols in DeFi, and the list goes on. So the purpose of a DAO can truly be anything as long as it has something through which the members can vote, in most cases a governance token. So from its operations to management, code written into code is a self-governed entity. So is the DAO the same as a smart contract? So you want to say understand that this is not the same as a smart contract. Smart contract differs from a DAO because it involves a limited number of participating entities, whereas a DAO can potentially have a lots of numbers, endless numbers of entities that participate in it. So it might be argued that there are some contracts which have an infinite number of participants, whereas another crucial difference: a smart contract is activated only when a user initiates an execution on the level of the smart contract. So if the smart contract does not receive any that stimulus from the user, then it lays dormant. While the same can be said for a DAO, the truth is that DAOs can have multiple processes going on without the need for an external stimulus. So since a DAO is a self-contained organization, its entire function is managed internally. That says DAOs can often have their rules of governance written into smart contracts. So looking at DAO different from decentralized application or decentralized organization, a decentralized application can mostly be a smart contract, and most because it is simply an application, does not have any financial aspect to it. For instance, Tor is often considered to be a decentralized application because all you don't need to pay money to use it, and B, it is not governed by any single organization. This is in opposition to a DAO, which always has a financial aspect in its governance token. So these are some pegs you want to understand. So looking at what does a DAO's governance look like, at the center of every DAO is the revolutionary governance mechanism. So the lack of a centralized principle means that all the members who participate in the governance influence the system's actions. Thus, a DAO is principally governed by its agents who are its members, or those voting on the system leads to fundamental state transitions. You can see a graphical representation of a Gauss stacks white paper shows inputs from the company's agents, the governance system itself, and state of transition. Now, a simple blockchain governance structure would look something like this. So let us take an example of an investment vehicle that invests in emerging DeFi protocols. We call it Investor DAO. There are three primary stakeholders for a fictional Investor DAO. Investor DAO members who can participate in decision making on which protocols must be vested in and how much should the allocation look like. So potential DeFi protocols who pitch their projects to the Investor DAO. The Investor DAO members who have a high reputation within the DAO and have a heavier influence on the DAO's decision. So for the purpose of our current example, we'll also stick to the first two stakeholders. So the native governance token for the DAO is INV. So now we assume that the DeFi protocol presents itself to the DAO, offering almost 100x returns to the DAO's capital if invested at a specific period. So the protocol offers 100% exclusive investment to the DAO along with a couple other features. So the pitch deck for this protocol is shared amongst all the DAO members. So the most likely scenario to play out in this case is scenario 1. Scenario 1, the number of if the number of members who vote above 60% in favor of the protocol, let's say minimum threshold percentage required for approvals, the collective capital of $50 million can be invested into the protocol. Members of the DAO with adequate legal knowledge can help with the contract. If, on the other hand, the project rejects the proposal, then the investment is abandoned. So this is an ideal scenario with a DAO. For an example, our purpose will look like, let's stretch out imagination a bit to imagine an alternative scenario. So looking at scenario 2, it says ignoring the pitch deck, suppose that a member of the DAO has managed to amass a vast voting share within the DAO. This is because they have a sizable quantity of the governance tokens in their wallet. Now this very member presents a proposal to transfer all the money to their personal wallet. You would imagine that would be impossible, right? No, it is possible. So if a member manages to acquire 65% voting power within the DAO, then they can simply own direct the funds to be transferred to their own wallet. So this will drain the DAO of all its funds and the members will be left helpless. So this is where our third stakeholder from above comes in. So if there are some members of the DAO who have more reputation than other members, then their votes will have a heavier influence in decisions. And because their vote is tied up to their reputation, they would not want to vote in a biased fashion. So this second scenario is one of the biggest challenges that DAOs face today. That said, this is the usual governance structure of most DAOs. So we can go into further details about the governance token. So there are different types of DAOs. We're looking at various types of DAOs. There's a list of some of them. Investment DAOs. We have protocol DAOs, service DAOs, project-based DAOs, and also community DAOs. Then the most popular are DAOs in crypto. We have every member of a DAO can exercise control over its internal capital via the governance token. Two, it says in the same vein, some DAOs can even serve as grant providers for protocols or even some blockchain networks. We have some of them like Moloch DAO functions as grants provider for Ethereum. Then we have Mecca Dao, which is a very popular one. Is an example of a protocol DAO mentioned above, which has become popular since the rise of DeFi in the summer of 2020. It is an algorithmic stablecoin protocol, and the members can participate in key voting decisions. We also have Curve DAO. So these DAOs are continuing to define how individual members can participate in strategic decisions of a protocol as opposed to how little say stakeholders have in the decisions of a corporation. But we must remember that DAOs are relatively new type of organizational structures that they have their own sets of limitations. Could DAOs run the world? Or you want to check out? Says that potentially DAOs can do everything. So if a DAO has well encoded rules and has foreseen different scenarios that could arise, then there is a possibility that it could replace traditional structures seen in the world today. And major challenges being faced by DAOs include how someone has a specific threshold of governance tokens within the DAO can influence the decisions. So this is one of the major challenges. So in most cases, however, repetition serves as a key solution to the problem and of voting power centralization. So you want to also note that. So do all members participate when a DAO votes on something? So not every DAO governance token holder will vote on every decision. So this is something you also want to note. Say some perks, humans want to move away from centralized system to an ecosystem where they have as much power as their counterparts. So DAO is not as decentralized as it hopes to be. On closing thoughts, you might think that it is hypocritical of me to still say that DAOs have immense potential after just writing that it is impossible to decentralize humanity. However, DAOs do have the great potential because they resolve human problems by using code. So if the primary rules of a DAO are written into code, then they cannot be tampered with. So no one can change the smart contract where those rules have been written. So this immutability coupled with the transparency that blockchain bring is enough to cement DAO's position within the larger crypto ecosystem as genuine replacement to hierarchical organizational structure systems where those in power freely change the rules to suit their self-interest. So moreover, the potential use cases for DAOs are truly limitless. A DAO potentially 1 million members can have representatives who can take key decisions because everything would be encoded. It would be ensured that every agent of DAO gets to have a say in the decision. So no human can tamper with the infrastructure. At the end, I would like to just leave you with a personal thought. A DAO seems like a panacea that cures all our problems, but we must remember it is almost impossible to change human nature. The humans are programmed to want to fight among each other to rise to the top. Evolutionarily, a society where everything is always equal has never existed, and I doubt it will ever will. So, guys, that's all. You should buy keys. Stay tuned for more. Subscribe. Peace out, guys.